Sarah.
Thank you, Lindsay. Good afternoon, everybody. I am Sarah Welsh, and I am from NICAM, which is the New York Center of Ag Medicine and Health. And we are going to talk today about farm safety for agritourism operations. As you all know, agritourism plays a vital role in connecting the public with what you're doing on your farm. It's another way of having an income source for your farming operation and making that connection, to your neighbors and to others that might share the same interests as you. And we're going to talk a little bit today about how NICAM can help support identify maybe some of those safety risks that are on your farm and how we can help you support your farm in creating a safe and enjoyable atmosphere. So a little bit about NICAM. Some people are very familiar with us, and we are new to some of you. So we're an organization that is focused on the well-being of rural and agricultural workers and their communities across New York State. We do things like outreach and education, research, and we offer health services. So, agritourism brings people onto the farms who maybe do not have an understanding of the day-to-day hazards that those in the farming community are very familiar with. So, what I would like, if possible, for those who are on the webinar, to throw in the chat box, what types of agritourism that you offer, just to kind of get an idea. So I'll just wait a minute or two on that to see if anybody puts something in the chat box. Okay. So I think maybe some people are just getting on. Okay, great. Thanks, Kim. All right, so I've got somebody's opening their farm to educate children about bees, and you pick flower operation. So for those of you who were on the call, think about maybe some aha moments or things that you were like, oh, that could have been a close call. Somebody could have possibly gotten, injured on your farm. Um, so think about those kind of moments with your personal operation and keep that in mind as we move through the webinar. The one thing that we really have to remember is that we are hosting people onto your farm that have zero experience or knowledge about farming. Those things that might be common sense to us might be a foreign concept to those who are visiting your farm. Close this. Ooh, okay, 1 second. Okay, moving along. So let's talk a little bit about agritourism in New York State. Anybody that opens social media these days can tell that, agritourism is very popular in New York State. Some census data from 2017 is showing that 6,200 farms in New York State is offering agritourism, and that is generating approximately $55 million annually. We do know that this data, is almost 10 years old, but agritourism is live and well in New York and really popular. Why is it so popular? Consumers are focused on purchasing products directly from the farm. They're looking for fresh products, high in nutritional value. They're really focused on supporting local businesses and especially connecting to nature. Families, especially, are looking for some wholesome and friendly activities to do with their children. So let's talk about some different types of ag tourism that people are offering around the state. There's a variety of you pick, everything from flowers, pumpkins, berries, apples, pumpkins, wineries. Farm stays are getting really popular where people are offering campsites, glam camping, those kinds of things. Lots of educational tours, corn mazes, petting zoos, education educational workshops are very popular. People are offering bread and pasta making classes, candle making classes. Farm to table is getting very popular as well, where farmers are have the ability to take the products that they're producing on their own land and pairing it with other local products and having people for dinner. Photo shoots, we see every year that people are taking beautiful pictures in flower fields, sunflowers especially, heat and wellness of health and wellness events, and then of course that direct to customer consumer sales. So, what are the benefits of hosting an ag tourism on your farm? It creates additional income streams, maybe outside of traditional farming, like livestock and crops. It showcases your farm product. You know what you're making. That direct to consumer sales sometimes is easier than trying to get your product into like bigger stores. You're preserving the farmland, keeping it in the family, keeping it in farm production, providing educational opportunities, and then the opportunity to build that stronger connections with the public to help educate them on what you're doing. With, hosting ag tourism, there are some concerns that come along with it. I think one of the biggest thing is that having the public onto your property increases the safety and liability risks for you, for them. You have to look into insurance and compliance considerations. Not everybody around you might be thrilled with the weekends when you have hundreds of people coming to your farm and there's heavy traffic and people parking on the side of the roads. It's a big financial investment, especially if your farm is not up to code or ready to handle the public, weather dependent. We know these days it's very hard to find labor and to keep them. And then, of course, zoning regulations as well. So these are just some press clippings that I found when I was Googling of, unfortunate situations that have happened when hosting the public on farm. Halloween horror event, a 12-year-old unfortunately dies from slipping off a tractor, a hayride. Another child was injured and was killed in a bounce pad at a local pumpkin patch. So, as you can see from these clippings, unfortunately, there's this bad side to hosting the public, and things can go wrong despite the efforts of trying to create a fun activity. So these next couple slides, what I would like to do is go through some of these photos and kind of point out some of the safety concerns that I see, that you may see as well, or they might be new to you as well. So for those who are running an animal operation, such as a dairy farm, there are things in your dairy setup that you cannot just remove when you're hosting a tour or having the public on your farm. So things like open sections of the barn that are used like for manure, storage, manure removal. There might be extra caution that is needed to make sure that things are barricaded so that no one could enter, like this opening we're seeing in this photo. The top photo on my screen shows a young girl interacting with a dairy cow, which seems totally innocent. This is what we want to see, is interaction with the public, with your livestock. But do you have adequate hand sanitation stations set up so that these children can go ahead and sanitize their hands to make sure that they don't get sick after the visit? The bottom picture is something that I found online, and this is a group of school children getting a farm tour, and they are learning about the pigs on the farm. But around the fence line are high weeds, and they're actually nettles, which we know once you come in contact with them, it's a burning and severe itching reaction. So just thinking about those things of how can something potentially be a negative impact on your visitors. So, another thing that we might see on a farm that maybe not top priority or realize it could be hazard or tripping hazards. So, extension cords are widely used in a farm shop, in farm buildings. It could be power lights, it could be to power, space heaters or heating lamps for chicks or piglets or those kinds of things, which are needed to take care of your animals or to keep something running like a fan, but those could be possible trip hazards for people that are coming through your property. The next photo that we had is what some people could call a junk pile. To the rest of us, these are materials and things that you keep extra on your farm for various projects. So these things you might want to actually remove out of what would be a frequent path for those who are visiting your farm. And it's always good to kind of put those extra things out of sight to create a different vision for when people visit your farm. And then the very last picture on this slide is uneven walking surfaces. On a working farm, it's very hard to keep things uh, what's what I'm looking for, stable, constantly making sure there's no potholes, that the concrete isn't cracked. If you have blacktop, that it's not cracked. Or if you are using old barns that have, sunken floors or things that are not level, can really create unsafe walking surfaces, especially for people that might be elderly, that may need a walker or a cane for them to get around. So fencing is a really important topic. Fencing is very important, and sometimes, though, maybe not practical because of the cost. So, a lot of farms may have water sources, some type of ponds on them, which are used for various functions on the farm. And depending on your farm tours or where you allow the public to access parts of your property, you really want to make sure that there's some type of fencing, barricading to make sure that the public does not have access to these water bodies to prevent somebody from drowning. For larger farms that are requiring manure storage for their livestock, it is very important that you have fencing around your manure storage pits. When these are installed, fencing is automatically put in, but over the years, sometimes the fencing is damaged, not replaced, and you want to make sure that you have adequate signage on your manure fencing as well to make sure that people know the danger and to stay away as well. Um, Electric fencing, is very popular on farms with livestock, and a lot of people use it because it's portable. The biggest thing is to make sure that you have signage on your electric fence. Again, you are going to be hosting people on your property that may not be familiar what electric fence is, and they may accidentally come in contact with it and get shocked, which nobody wants to see that happen. So adequate signage on your electric fencing. And then the bottom photo is young school children visiting a dairy farm and going up to interact with the cattle. As you can see, that type of fencing is very common where people are recycling, the trees and making posts out of what they have on the property. But you have to ask yourself, is this adequate fencing to keep the public safe? And then again, I would suggest having signage on your fencing, making them aware of, interacting with the cattle, possible biting, things like that. So, the next thing I want to talk about are mechanical hazards. So, in the world of safety, mechanical hazards are things in motion that possibly can hurt a person. So, with the moving part, can it pinch you? Can it pull you in? Can it crush you? Does it throw objects? Is there burn points? Those kinds of things. So, in the top corner, we have a traditional barn cleaner. cleaner that you would find in livestock barns. Obviously you would want to have some type of barricade in place to keep people from accessing this area. There's a lot of moving parts with the barn cleaner that possibly a young child could be injured. But the red arrow is pointing to the exposed belt, and then the open part of the barn cleaner area. You want to make sure that there's shields and guards over these moving parts as another level of safety from keeping somebody to come in contact with them. The next photo I want to go over is the cider press. So it is very popular for orchards to offer you pick in the fall, and a lot of them have cider making going on at the same time. Now, this is a traditional cider press, and some of them you can squeeze the cider pulp, the apple pulp down by hand, but some of them are powered mechanically by a small motor. So the arrow that you're seeing is the motor that will power this wheel. And as you know, small children, even adults, are near this, putting the apples into the top by shown by the red arrow, there is a possibility that they can come in contact with that moving belt, or even, maybe the motor gets hot and they get burned from it. So again, there needs to be some type of shield or like a plexiglass wall put in place to keep that barrier between the person and this moving part. The next thing I want to point out with the cider press is the moving drum per se in the top. So as the apples are put in top, they come down. There's some type of teeth or metal pieces on that drum that as the apples rotate through, you're breaking them down into that pulp. You have to be very careful to make sure that little fingers don't accidentally go in too far and get caught with that moving drum. Personally, when I host my cider pressing party at my home, I have small children that are here, and we actually have a plexiglass funnel that goes around the top of that part. So the children are still able to put the apples in and participate, but there's no way for them to physically come in contact with that moving drum. Okay. So for those who, with a working farm, a lot of you will still have some type of chemicals on your farm if it's to keep up with weeds or pests, or you have medications on your farm to take care of your livestock. These are things that we think not too much about, and we would think that people visiting the farm would know not to come in contact with these things because it's dangerous, but that's not the case, even with small children. So it's really important to, double check before you start hosting agritourism on your property that all chemicals, even windshield wiper fluid that might be in your farm shop, that everything is put away, out of reach, that the buildings are locked up, or, cabinets to store your chemicals in are there as well. Animal medications should be always locked up and put away. And then along with animal medications, often syringes are used to administer the needed medications. It's really important to make sure that you are just putting those sharps into a sharps container for proper storage, and that sharps container is up out of the reach of the public as well. So let's talk about some safety with equipment. Tractors are very popular for majority of farming operations. They're used for a variety of tasks. And sometimes, again, we think that somebody visiting the farm would know not to try to play in the equipment or access the equipment. But again, we are hosting people on our property that come from a different walk of life, and they may not be familiar at all with the possible hazards with farm equipment. So I just wanted to go over some safety tips regarding that. So, when you go to park your tractor and you have an implement, make sure that your implements are lowered to the ground. There's a possibility that a small child might find the space underneath the implement like a hiding spot. And that your parking brake is set on the tractor as well. You want to make sure that you are removing the keys out of the tractor, even if it's off out of the way from where the public would be visiting that a different part of your farm. You never know when somebody's going to wander off. Again, especially small children. So it's really important to, set the brake, lower your implement, take the key out, and even lock the door just for that extra level of security. Um, and that goes to anything on your property that is motorized. So a four-wheeler, a lawnmower, a side-by-side, a skid steer. You really want to make sure that people do not have the ability to access your equipment. And making sure that your equipment is in safe working order if you are going to use it to interact with the public. For example, the picture on the screen are hay rides. You want to make sure that every part of that wagon is in safe working condition, that there are not protruding nails, screws, broken pieces of wood, try to reduce the slivers, that the steps going onto the wagon are in good working condition. There's a handrail, that your tractor's in good working condition, your brakes, your fluids, lights, your wraps, your seatbelt, all of those things, because you want to make for a safe, enjoyable event for the public. So now that we have gone through some, things to kind of identify on your own farm to look for, one thing I wanted to talk about is an effective control of hazards. So what you're looking at this diagram is the hierarchy of controls were developed by NIOSH, which is the National Institute for Occupational Safety and Health. And it's a framework that is used to show ways of controlling hazards from the most effective to the least effective. While it relates, to worker safety, we can also make it work for visitor safety as well. So I kind of want to go over this a little bit. You can also Google this and find this image and more information online. So let's start at the top. So elimination of the hazard. It would be great to physically be able to remove a hazard, such as your tractor or your dairy cows, but those are a vital part of your farming operation. So it's kind of hard to do that. So the next thing to do is we're going to come down and we're going to go to substitution. Now, pay attention to the left-hand side of the screen as we move down this pyramid. We're going to go from most effective down to least effective. Bumping back up one, kind of going back to your dairy cows, livestock type of thing. If you do have livestock that might be more aggressive, that are unfriendly, to eliminate them, you could, remove them from your farm or possibly move them to other pens or other barns where they would not be, uh, interacting and contacting with the public could be a way to deal with that. What is substitution? Trying to replace the hazard. If there is a certain herbicide that you might use to control the weeds on your farm, but you might be concerned about the residue or maybe the interaction with the public, not wanting somebody to have a reaction to it, you possibly could try with a different product that might be more safer for people, pets, those kinds of things. Engineer controls. What are engineer controls? So those are things that are designed to isolate people from the hazard. So going back a few slides, I was talking about having shields and guards over moving parts. That's an engineer control. Having barriers and fencing. Those are things that are designed to keep that barrier between a person and the actual hazard. And as we're going down the pyramid, pyramid, you can see we're going from most effective to least effective. Administrative controls. So this is policy, procedure, directions, things that are written to keep people safe. A lot of people that host agritourism have signage around their property saying, beware of, please do not enter, restrictive type of signage. But unfortunately, this is down where it's least effective because that relies on people, your visitors, reading, understanding, and following the directions that are on the signs. And then the least effective is going to be PPE. So these are things like giving people gloves or splash-proof glasses, or, you know, if they were in an area where there might be like flying objects, you would want protective glasses on them, or wearing proper shoes is another form of PPE. This is the least effective because it relies on us as the people to make the effort to use that PPE to keep ourselves safe. So let's talk about NICAM. You know, especially for those who are not familiar with us, what would be our role on a farm? Okay, so we have an on-farm safety program. This is developed to allow us to give you safety suggestions on your farm of things that could be potential hazards, and providing resources on to help you with those safety concerns. We have a farm emergency response program. This is a group of staff that are trained to do CPR for adults and infants, administer first aid and stop the bleed and naloxone. We would come out to your operation and provide this free training to train you and your staff, family members, those who are helping on the farm, interacting with the public on these life-saving trainings. All of our services are available in English and Spanish. A lot of our print and our videos are also offered in Spanish as well. We have some financial support programs, which I will talk about later on in the webinar. And we would like to really express that our services are confidential and non-regulatory. So we do not report things to OSHA, to your local court, you know, code enforcement, law enforcement, those kinds of things. We are there to meet you at your needs on the farm and to try to provide some services. So let's dive into what a safety walkthrough looks like. So the farm manager would ask NICAM to set an appointment and come out and do a farm safety walkthrough. So we would walk around the farm and we would be looking at farm shops, animal care facilities, equipment, implements, manure storage, chemical storage, those kinds of things. And we would make a list of potential hazards that we might see. We would have an open discussion with that person that was walking with us around the farm, talking about, you know, things that we see, giving some tips and tricks, some recommendations. After the farm safety walkthrough is complete, a detailed report with photos would be provided back to the farm owner manager. That report stays between NICAM and the farm itself. Again, the information is not shared out of NICAM. Um, Everything that we collect is confidential, but we'd like to express that the farm safety walkthrough would not solely focus on your ag tourism. It would be a complete walkthrough. If you were hosting ag tourism, there would be additional things that we would talk about on the visit. So, what are the most common hazards identified on a farm safety walkthrough? Often, when I'm on farms, there may be a lack of or no fire extinguishers available. More commonly, what I find is you do have a fire extinguisher on your farm, but it is behind a door or it's in the corner of the farm shop. And yes, you know where it is, but for those who are visiting your farm, working on your farm, volunteering, those kinds of things. They don't know where it is. So it's always really handy to have them mounted up by doors and having signage so that people can easily locate the fire extinguisher. Same thing with first aid kits. Sometimes there are lack of or none, or you have your first aid kit shoved on a shelf on the farm shop, but unfortunately, nobody knows where it is, and it actually might be empty, or there might be only a few materials inside of it. Another thing that we see are uneven, crumbling walking surfaces, tripping hazards, extension cords. Hydraulic oil buckets, different building materials, all kinds of things might be, in a walking path. Missing SMV emblems. So the slow moving vehicle emblems are those red and orange triangles that you supposed to have on your equipment that goes onto public roads. And one of the big things we see are an overuse of extension cords that are plugged into power strips. So, what kind of farm safety concerns would we look for regarding you hosting an ag tourism on your farm? So we're going to be looking for things like tripping hazards. Again, those uneven walking surfaces, especially for people that are not steady on their feet or they need equipment to help them get around. Looking for electrical hazards. Is your electrical box, is the door missing? Is it left open? Are there wires that are not capped or not in conduit exposed that somebody could come in contact with? Fencing concerns, like we talked about earlier in the webinar, it's really important to make sure that you have adequate fencing and signage to keep people away from dangerous areas. Equipment. A farm can have a variety of different pieces of equipment that are needed for the day-to-day operations, and it's really important that the public cannot access your equipment, cannot start the equipment, and have your equipment put away, if you don't want small children climbing on the equipment. Biosecurity concerns is really important, especially for those who have different types of livestock. You don't want somebody that has a small flock of chickens at home that fed them that morning, and those same shoes are onto your farm and walking through your area where your chickens feed, and potentially bringing some type of disease into your farm and to affect your chickens. But also, too, keeping the public safe and healthy, making sure that there's hand sanitize stations, washing stations to keep them healthy as well. Uh, Making sure that there's adequate fire extinguishers, first aid kits throughout the farm, and that there is signage for people to easily locate the fire extinguishers and first aid kits. And then going back to signage, I think that this is probably one of the number one things that is talked about when you are hosting the public on your farm is signage states those clear expectations of where people are allowed, where they're not allowed, what people should expect when visiting your farm or doing the different activities that you have scheduled is very important. So let's talk about how other things that NICAM can do to help you with your ag tourism operation. We can provide that comprehensive safety report that will cover those common hazards that I talked about before, but we'll dive in deeper about what could be a safety concern when hosting the public on your property. We can provide you with comprehensive safety checklists that you can use yourself at any time to do your own safety walkthrough on your own farm. And farm emergency preparedness, we can come out and help train you, family, staff, on how to do CPR, administer first aid, how to do stop the bleed, and naloxone training. After you complete these trainings through NICAM, we can then provide you with a stop the bleed kit for each person that takes the class. What is in the kit? So the kit is going to have gloves, shears, a tourniquet, gauze, those kinds of things. And then with the naloxone training, you would get an overdose kit that would have the naloxone nasal administrators of the medicine. There would be two in there, gloves, information on how to treat somebody with a supposed, maybe an overdose that they're going through. So NICAM sounds really great and we can help you with a lot, but I kind of wanted to go over a few things that we cannot help you with regarding ag tourism. Things like your permits, food service rules, building codes, dealing with insurance, traffic, parking safety, and local regulations and zoning laws. So I kind of wanted to go over to some more services. NICAM has a lot to offer. In addition to helping you with your ag tourism, we can also come and do safety trainings on things like your equipment, tractor, skid steer, forklift, animal safety, animal handling safety in particular, confined space, silos, bulk tanks, manure pits, grain bins, hazard communication, putting together a safety plan and hazard communication standard when dealing with chemical safety, much more. We provide technical assistance. This is a quick and easy way to access the most current information. NICAM safety specialists are available by phone or email to answer questions and to provide guidance. If there is a particular safety training that you're interested in and you don't see it here on the list, we always encourage people to reach out to us. We really try to provide safety training and resources on all topics. So, like I said before, NICAM offers some financial assistance. The National RAPS rebate program is very well known across the nation, and NICAM assists with this. You can contact the National RAPS coordinator in our office, and they can help you navigate through the process of retrofitting your tractor with a RAPS. The other very popular financial assistance program that NICAM is known for is the John May Farm Safety Fund. This covers up to 50% of the cost of safety upgrades up to an award of $5,000. Just a few additional information on the John May Farm Safety Fund. It specifically funds worker safety improvements. We try to make it a very simple process. Eligibility, New York State farms grossing up to a little less than $1 million or any dairy farm is eligible. These are personalized projects. Farms have the autonomy to choose the safety upgrades that fit their needs, and it is a one-to-one staff support, on-site visits and follow-ups throughout the program. Oh. So as of June of last year, we had 376 projects completed, over $1.5 million dispersed, and we have served 51 New York State counties. These are just some photos of some projects. Electrical upgrades, animal handling safety equipment, structure repairs, silo repairs as well. Pretty much, if it is a safety concern to you or the workers on your farming operation, we really encourage you to jot down your project idea on the application, and we will do our best to work with you. Okay. Additional services with NICAM is our Farm Partners program. It provides free and confidential counseling and case management services to farmers, farm families, and farm workers. NICAM's licensed therapists can assist farmers in seeking financial assistance, health insurance coverage, Social Security, disability, and similar programs. We also offer personal protective equipment and consultation. We have PPE and safety gear, sales, and an in-house specialist that can help pair you up with what you need. All products are ANSI rated to provide the most protection. The PP catalog is available on our website to look at. Okay. So as I'm wrapping this up, I kind of wanted to give a shout out to some of our ag tourism partners that have a lot of great resources that I hope that people will access. Of course, you guys are utilizing the webinar series that is provided by Cornell. They have a agritourism YouTube channel. They have webinar series and fact sheets, extensive knowledge about the safety tourism Agriculture and Tourism Act, other resources, and they also have a very extensive checklist that helps guide you through a walkthrough, making sure that your farm is ready to host the public. And another organization I wanted to share is the National Children's Center for Rural and Agricultural Health and Safety, which is the Marshville Clinic. This website has 23 different checklists for you to use. You can download them and print them off. They're going to cover things like animal safety, what specific type of fencing you should have, signage, parking, insurance, help, emergency preparedness. There's also signage templates available through this organization that you can download and you can personalize for your own farming operation. And then these are just some, again, additional resources that I encourage you to check out when hosting or in the process of planning an ag tourism on your property. New York State Ag and Markets is a good resource. I love New York. There's the New York State Tourism Industry Association that I came across. Very good resources. And of course, if you are serving food, those kinds of things on your farm, working with the local health department, your building and code enforcement, insurance providers, your EMS, fire department, extension is a great resource, and so on. So I would like to kind of open it up to the group, Lindsay. And I don't know if you want to record this part, but just to kind of have an open discussion with some thoughts that maybe our participants might want to share.
Sarah, are you going to share contact information at the end?
Yes, I am. Yep.
Okay. If you guys want to, we can definitely just
So yeah, so I will have my contact information at the end, but one thing I kind of want to start with the discussion is, what change that you wanted to make has been on your mind during this presentation, and how do you think you can make that change? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to let you guys kind of think on that for a minute or two, and I'm going to go through some of the questions that are in the chat. So with the John May, that is a multiple application process. And what I mean by that is that you can come back to us every 3 years and apply for a new safety project as a new applicant. We do not have a ranking system. It is a first come, first serve type of program. So you are welcome to come back every 3 years to work with us on a new project. There was a question from Kimberly. I'm hoping that the information I shared about the Marshfield Clinic will help you in your area. Okay, let's see. All right. Well, Marianne, I hope you check out our website for the PPE catalog. I'm actually going to go back a couple slides. Was everybody able to use the QR code to get our NICAM website? So I'm going to leave that up for just a minute or so. And I'm just kind of going through the questions. Yes, this presentation is being recorded, and Lindsay, they'll have access to the slides, correct?
Yep, yeah, I'll usually send them out within the couple days of the presentation, so probably later this week.
It's perfect. Oh, good. I'm glad that the QR code is working for everybody. Thank you for letting me know that. So I'm going to go ahead and just go forward. And I want to make sure that everybody has my contact information. So you'll see my information and then Christina Day as well. She's our farm services navigator. She helps connect people within the farming community with different resources that they might need outside of NICAM. We really encourage everybody, you may not need us to at this point come out and do a farm safety walkthrough, but you might have questions for us or looking for different resources. So we really recommend you to reach out to Christina or I, and we'd be happy to help you gather those resources as well. Was there anything that somebody wanted to share with me